Well, hello everyone on this Monday, the 1st of July. Just to let you know, half of the year is gone. So, like that. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me. Hope you had a far out, strong end of the week. And it was hot here, but it's summertime. So, hey, what you going to do? Welcome, everyone. Hello, Brian Lunsford. How are you doing? And Emperor Rec Warrior Queen. She will be here on Wednesday. I think there's going to be a panel. So looking forward to that. Joyce, how are you doing, my dear? Coyote Prophet, I like that. Dragon Soul Fox, hello. Melissa Holland, good to see you. Well, Andrew, thank you. That was very kind of you. Oh, Mario D'Souza, good to see you, my friend. Nina the Mystic, hello. Beth, good to see you. Denise, Pamela, good to see you. Hey, Franny, how are you? Wendy and Heidi and Terry and Lori. Hi, Lori. Lost in Space, how are you, my dear? Sale, good to see you. Skyheart, love that. Jessica, there's a song, one of the best Allman Brothers song. Anyway, Rain Silver One, good to see you. Boy, a lot of new names in here I haven't seen before. So, hey, good to see y'all. This is the place where, hey, we're going to go, as the old expression says, where angels fear to tread. Oh, and I tell you, I love the topic we are getting into. Oh, my goodness. Did I have a weekend of just, seriously, I want to tell you, little things that, when you start really getting into understanding just how freaking magical this existence is, and how much magic, whether we want to define magic as science, something of the ether, something spiritual, however you want to define it. And unfortunately, in modern colloquialism, magic has gotten a bum rap. It's like when someone says magic, you think about a 3-card Monte game. No, folks, there is a power that, whoa, we're all in it. I mean, it's everywhere. And if you believe in life after death, then you cannot help but ask. Your consciousness seeks it out. What is it after this plane? Now, we're going to get into some serious teaching today, because this is the kind of stuff that, well, quite literally, I couldn't believe it. Those of you who catch Jeff and I on Sunday mornings over on his channel, the fact that I myself have been immersed in spirit conjuring. I did the math last night. Are you ready for this, folks? I've been doing this for nearly 47 years. Never knowing that I was actively conjuring. And I'm well versed at it. And when you begin to understand what spirit conjuring really is, and particularly those of you who come out of organized religion, now, of those of you who don't have that background, well, your path has led you here anyway. But for those who, like myself, came out of that indoctrination, and when you examine it, and it's just like doing a mathematical equation. You look at it, you break it down, you look at the synthesis of its foundation. Wow. So let me just invoke. Now we're going to learn there is a distinct difference between invoking and evoking. A very distinct difference. And as we continue to learn, I call this practical magic, That becomes really important. So I invoke favor upon all of you. That favor comes from the very creative substance of all things. That there be nothing missing, nothing broken in your life, and full and complete restoration. You know, I think that the best thing going is to be fully restored, fully satisfied when you leave this plane. I believe that can be done. So today Trina was supposed to be on, but she's traveling. She's heading, I believe, to Tennessee. So Trina, we love you. We send you strong protective energy, and may your week be one filled with exceeding expectations. So also want to give a shout out to David Berry. David's mom is, well, her body's being attacked. And David, we send you love to you and your mom both. You know, there is energy, folks. And when it's directed and focused, even if the person isn't aware, it helps. I know. Now, tomorrow we got Talking with the Planets. The more I get into what we're doing here, we're going to be discussing with Patrick, I think, a new way of approaching the planets. It never occurred to me to invoke them. Yeah. But we're going to understand that. Let's see what else. Tonight, I'm going to be a guest on The Last Stand with Jeff Doherty and his new host, Robert and Bauer, I believe. So anyway, all right. Good. We got a full 53 minutes. Well, you're welcome, David. Very much love to you, my friend. So how many of you still are not quite bought into the fact that this magic is everywhere? We're surrounded by it. We're still learning about sigil magic. This is all, it's like we're baking a cake here, folks. I mean, the ingredients and the prep time must be done. So I want to thank Renee for sending this to me. Sigils, folks. We begin the magic. And if these sigils are open vortices, now many of you probably have no freaking idea what I'm talking about. That's all right. It's cool. I didn't know until I learned. They are a, let me see, how do I put this? Once the invocation is set and the sigil is put in the center of the vortex of the circle, and once that is invoked, that vortex never goes away. Now, it can be sealed. We'll get into that here in the weeks to come. But if it's not, then you and I, along with every other spirit being, particularly humans, we're going to be impacted by this. So get this, folks. You see what this is? That is an Oreo cookie. Look real close, my friends. How many of you see it? How many of you freaking see it? Do you have any comprehension what you're actually looking at? Do you actually know what you are looking at? Exactly right, Peter. That's a sigil. A sigil. You see, this is by far some of the deepest revelation knowledge I have ever come across. It blows all the religions out of the water. It exposes them for what they are. But more importantly, what those doctrinations separated us from was in fact the true reality. Now, on a cookie, Oreos, Nabisco owns them, and if you doubt me, which you should not, you'd be very foolish to do that, but you know, I can't help that if you do. So right here it is. The Hidden Templar Symbology of the Oreo Cookie. This is on GnosticWarrior.com. 500 billion have been sold. As you can see, let's just go through this. You could circle the globe with Oreo cookies 341 times. But did any of these billions of people ever notice the hidden Knights Templar symbology etched onto an Oreo cookie as they dipped their Oreo cookie in milk or licked off the white creamy filling? The cross pate emblazoned on the cookie. So here's where this thing goes, folks. The current design of the Oreo was formulated in 1952 by some secret cookie designer that must have been affiliated with the Templars, or he just loved their symbology. You can see right above, the circle with the word Oreo has, ready for this, a cross with two bar cross. This is known as the Cross of Lorraine, which was carried by the Knights Templar into the Crusades. The Cross of Lorraine is part of the Hellenic arm of Lorraine in eastern France between 1871 and 1918, and again between 1940 and 1945. And the northern third of Lorraine was annexed to Germany. So, as you can see, I won't keep you on this because we got to move on. But, yeah. Now, oh, excuse me, I didn't want to do that. Just keep yourselves going there as I prepare. I want to pull something up that I didn't want to pull out, but that happens. Here we go. All right. So, there we go. All right, so give me a second here. I'm driving as I'm walking. All right, so we continue. Weird, isn't it? But I do like these cookies. Anyway, hi, Lori. How are you doing? Good to see you. Marguerite, good to see you. And by the way, 70, Griffin, good to see you. Gravity Storm, Deborah, hello. Moonlight Herbalist, hello. How are you doing? So, yeah. Friday, we talked about the revelation of Moses. Moses, as you know, literally translates magus, which is master magician. Hadley, good to see you, my dear. Proud of Texas lady, hello. And Julie Ann Payne, hello. Susie Q, good to see you. Just trying to catch up with all of y'all that are in here. So, over the weekend, y'all are as astute as I am. I mean, someone sent me this article, and I have to tell you, this one kind of caught me a little bit by surprise. This is the Kailash people. They live in Pakistan. The interesting thing about this race of people is that in an area where everyone is dark hair, primarily darker skin, brown eyes, these people are blonde haired, blue eyes, and they just don't fit in. Well, the interesting thing is that they claim a direct genealogy, family line to Alexander the Great, and their DNA has proven it. They've done the DNA now. They know exactly how they got there. But this is what is really interesting that I found. They believe, and I want to pull this up. Here it is. Alexander the Great, they said, was a horned man. Now, this gets really weird because this is in their culture. Goes back to 21 BCE. And here it is, possibly from the army of Alexander the Great. Here is the DNA map. So they've got this. And what is really interesting is that they considered Alexander the Great to have horns. It gets into this a long, long ago, before the day of Islam. The two-horned one, whom you British people call Alexander the Great. He conquered the world, and he was a very great man, brave and dauntless and generous to his followers. When he left to go back to Greek, some of his men did not wish to go back. And so that's where the story goes. So I think we all have to ask ourselves, okay, what are we missing here? I went and did some research going back through both Greek, Roman, even through Chaldean. There is a line that goes that there was these horned beings. They were considered gods. You could say, in a sense, from the Greek pantheon, a mixture of both man and God, but horned nevertheless. What are we missing? Thank you, Franny. Yeah, the Minoan culture, the Minotaur. And as you get more into magic and the workings of magic, you begin to find that there is a lot of credence this, because what we're going to be studying today is from Frater Barrabbas, I think is how his last name. Anyway, the Spiritual Conjuring for Witches, along with other books. We're going to discover that, folks, this is far deeper than most of us have given credence to. So today what I'm going to do is set the foundation. And as we get more into this, you're going to discover, how do I say this? We conjure spirits in a very reckless way in modern culture. Western culture is crass. It's the most debase of, I think, of most cultures, and it's becoming worse. But nevertheless, it doesn't negate exactly what happens in the spiritual realm. Let me just frame this by giving everyone here a foundation how I'm approaching this. This was my Bible. This book is nearly 40 years old. Has some remarkable notes in it, quite in depth. As many of you may or may not know, I am an ordained minister, was. No longer make claim to that. Have a strong background in this theology. So when I began to start reading this weekend, and I'm almost halfway through the book, it literally flabbergasted me in my thought capacity when I began to look back and realize I was part of a cult, invoking spirits, opening myself to possession, opening vortexes with signs. Yes, you can, in fact, open if you know how to do it. And I'm telling you, if you come out of that mindset, so let me show you how it works and why you shouldn't fear this in your own life. First of all, when I first was born again and became actively a member, in fact, I was, part of the counseling team. I mean, it went all the way through. But before each service, there was a circle that was invoked. Everyone held hands and stood in a circle. That is called the magical circle. Don't matter what religion, paganism, Gnosticism, whatever, Christianity, Catholicism, Islam, Judaism, I can go right down the list. But follow me. We would then form a circle and we would start praying. We would start chanting mantras. We would begin to open ourselves up and invoking the Holy Spirit, invoking a deity that we assumed answered to the name of Jesus. And when the circle of invocation was then energized, because it becomes energized by the energy of the participants within the circle. And when you open that vortex and pull down the hierarchy of the spirit beings, in this case, one called the Holy Spirit, and you open yourself to its leading, its directing, and its guidance. In fact, we would say we give you free will to move among us. It'd be a coven of witches, a circle of sorcerers. Then we would then edify it by singing praises to it, some in other languages, in tongues, and then we invoked that every person walking into the sanctuary would become under the influence of the Holy Spirit. As you then broke up and went into the congregation, the first thing that you begin to do in your conjuring is again publicly evoking a higher spirit to come and to be upon the congregation. And you have talismans, you have sigils, you have other sacred objects that are the focal point of the energy flows from the ether into the congregation. This is follow up by invoking praise to this spirit, and as it's beginning to lift up the energy from the congregation, then you begin to give offerings. What I just told you happened. I used to go to church sometimes 3-4 days a week. If there was a camp meeting, it'd be every night. The same ritualistic practice is done over and over again. And then when you begin to seal it with the blood, and that's where it gets really weird. When you start to commune with the spirits. And the thing is, you don't invoke just a spirit, you call down the heavenly host. That's conjuring your ABCs, folks. Yeah. I don't care how many thumbs down. You can't handle the truth. You might as well just get the hell out of here. You know, this is above your head, above your capacity of your IQ. You can remain ignorant. I don't have time for ignorance. You continue to go back into that whole ritualistic, conjuring, black magic. And you want to know why your life is so fucked up? Excuse me. Yeah, I dropped the F word. Because you have invoked spirits you have no idea about. They torment you, they haunt you, and you never realized you're the one that brought them in. Yeah, this is serious stuff. You're going to die, baby. You're going to wake up one day and you're going to be a cold slab of flesh. So either consciousness is transmuted at that portal or it's not. Evidence suggests that there is a very active spiritual realm. We're capturing it more and more. There are shows dedicated to that because now we can see. We have eyes everywhere. And the spirits, they can't hide. We know they're real. We know they exist. So I told you this was serious stuff, folks. I mean, this is not play around. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate that, brother. I'm trying to help everyone here. And if you think about it, if you go to your death afraid, that's the type of energy you don't want to project. And you see, the problem is we all have been taught, well, no. You can't invoke spirits. Why, you can't, you do that. Oh, you might bring in a demon. You know, it's insanity. The truth is, you have more power over all of these. In fact, God, G-O-D, capitalized, a human being can actually, it's very foolish, I wouldn't recommend it, but you could probably most likely coerce that being. I wouldn't. There's just some things that, I don't know what that being is, but it's obviously a very powerful one. I've come across others in my travels that are that powerful, but we know they exist. We have plenty of books. We're going to be getting into more of this guy's book here. This is the collection of Randolph Steiner. How many of you know Mr. Steiner's work? Remarkable. And it's the kind of knowledge that, well, it's going to help. It's going to help immensely. So let's get into something. I put something together to try to help us kind of kick this off as we go through this. Probably be able to pick it back up on Friday. And relate this to your own experience. That's the thing about it. You don't have to accept what I say. I could care less. I would hope that you would weigh it on the merits of the research that I've done and then do your own comparative analysis and see how it suits up with you. All right. So let's get some basic understanding of what we're dealing with. Now, we are in the modern age of magic. You can call it witchcraft, sorcery. the ancestors, the master magi's, have to be just absolutely excited to see what's happening. I don't know what has brought it. All I know is that the doors are open, wide open. That which has been hidden is now made known. That which was kept in secret is now seen. So when we look at magic, witchcraft, it's a craft. No different than a carpenter, a painter, an artisan. It's a craft. Now, you have 5 particular category. You have, and now this is a strange word, thaumaturgy, herbalism, divination, spirit conjuring, and theurgy. Yes, I did pronounce those correctly. I had to look it up, but yes, I did. So, all right. Thaumaturgy is actually wonder working. It is defined, listen to this, as a non-religious form of magic that uses the laws of similarity, like affects like, and or the law of contagion. Once in contact, always in contact. Think about this spiritually. When you join yourself to another human being in this realm, and I particularly where coitus is concerned, there is a joining. You carry that essence of that partner wherever you go. Strange, I know. And this is a principle that not only is in this material realm, but also into the spiritual realm. I have a sense that when we get over on the other side, many of us, once we get orientated to our new environment, you begin to see how you can pass on energy to other energies, other what we would call people. All right, to create a talisman, amulets, a curse tablets, voodoo dolls, and so forth. Yes, voodoo, along with Santa Maria, is very powerful magic. If you don't think that the priestess down in the Caribbean cannot bring forth spirits, yeah. Next time you take a vacation, go visit a voodoo priestess. She might teach you some things. Yeah. All right, let's continue. To be used for both good and evil. You see, I have a crystal that was sent by one of my good friends here. Now, I could build my protective circle, my magic circle. I'm advanced enough where I can begin to put other shapes within my circle and understand, you're going to understand, that when I can put anything, and it goes into the center, and the vortex is opened, it will light with us. We've all seen it, I think ridiculously portrayed, but there is still truth, of the voodoo doll. You can do it right now. It's kind of that level, but when you want to attach a spirit to it, a little different thing. All right, now continue. Forms of casting illusion that can be on a single person or large groups of people. This is something you see this. Let me just see how I can put this. We've all experienced this. You've been in a concert. If someone in one of those bands happens to have and they do. Go back and look at the sigil magic. If you've ever been in a crowd with a politician, Barack Obama was one of the best I've ever seen at this. The sigils with the symbology can form and do cast an illusion on the person or persons. Now, you are still in control of your cognitive abilities, but what happens is that it attaches to you. And the next thing, it draws more and more energy, which we call your concentration. Herbalism. Now, this is a Greek word, which is the actual bar mach etaya. I think I got that. You speak Klingon? All right. This is defined as the potion maker, which was the prototype of the modern day pharmacist. You see, science today that we call basic science all has its origins in magic. Magic used to be synonymous for science. So pharmacia, and there's many other translations to this, we say, in fact, I remember back in my days in practicing Christianity that, Paul said it would be a sign of the last days, where he said every human being, and I'm basically adding my nomenclature to that, would be on drugs. Today, I've heard here in the United States, and I can only imagine what it must be in other countries, I've never seen a more bigger push to get the snowflakes, the Generation Z, the millennials, virtually are all, that by percentage, that are on antidepressants, anti-anxiety. Yeah. Now, what's real interesting about how the potion maker, the herbalist, was looked at, in the craft, they could be hired to do both good and bad. Case in point, a king sends out his royal guard to find a witch, an herbalist, so that he could have the potion in which to give to his wife, the queen. Who knows? Could be anyone, I guess. And it kills her. You read about it in all of the, King Arthur's court. You read it in mythology and fairy tales. Yeah. Think about Sleeping Beauty. What did the witch give her? A concoction that put her to sleep. It was a spell. Today, what most people aren't aware of when they're popping their prescription drugs is that it's having an impact onto you. And alchemy is nothing more than the manipulation of the elements to have an influence. Think about it. Science discovered the craft, and the basic foundational elements are used in modern day medicine as pharmaceuticals. And if you look at this, we're going to get Nancy Addison back on as well. Look at what the base is made of. It's so odd. Most of them are, some sort of chloride. And the modern, the new generation, all you have to do is listen to one of the drug commercials on the side effects. Who in their right mind would want to take it? Actually, I heard one say, I'm writing, and I could hear it in the background. This drug, and it says, the side effects could be, and and at the end of it, it says, and death. Oh, what? Oh, wait a minute. You see, it's crazy, folks. So potion makers were known as witches in Latin. The name is Venica, woman poisoner. Now, as you look into this, I found it very odd that many, many kingdoms, all kings, as far as I can see, and this would go for queens, all have a royal priesthood. All priesthoods practice dark magic. We're going to bring up the 5th and 6th books of Moses again. He said right there, you have the first 5. That's the ones that they'll tell you about. But, and one of the things that I have a problem with modern day magic is that so much of it, if you look at, Regardie's work, The Golden Dawn, a required reading if you really want to become at the elite part of this. But I still have a problem with it, and I will not submit myself to it of the Kabbalah background. I want nothing to do with anything that is of a Hebrew, any type of deity. The way I practice my magic is this. I practice my magic as though I'm God. Because you know what? I don't worship any other God. I mean, it says, have no other gods before you. Well, then that means you are God. And I refuse to submit or yield myself to another spirit. That's just me. Got off on the path on that one. All right, divination. I have my rods. I have a lot of them. I've got my pendulums and I've got my tarot cards. I myself, I'm good at this. I can do it really easy, but I have to follow my spirit guide. I have to follow where my road is leading. Now, I know this is powerful stuff, and I do use divination, and I recommend that you do too. Get good at it. All right. Most people will also tell you it could be that you're just merely answering yourself, your future self. Anyway. All right. A diviner or sibyl is someone who can, through the use of various auspicious and manipulating divinatory tools that can foretell the future, locate water, hidden treasure. When you begin to look at this, the pioneers here in America, the early settlers, all had diviners. Yes. In fact, it's still out here in the West that if you are good at your craft as locating water, you're paid very big bucks. I mean, and when you're in drought situation, the earth is not without water. It has more water than what we'll ever realize. But the fact is, there is a spell that we can cast, we can speak. Case in point, I found a $10 bill. I wanted to test the spell. It will bring hidden treasures to the surface. Now, granted, I walked out of a grocery store. Someone's probably some woman or someone was putting it, but the fact is I found it. I had spoken a spell earlier. And now I have an idea on some spirits. It's so anyway. Interestingly enough, even the companies that have all the modern sonogram and all the fancy tools, the satellites, all that, yet there are those times when they will bring in a diviner. Now, some divination is sanctioned by governments. This is not new. It dates back 5,000 BCE. What was really interesting is that when you study the Egyptian legacy of their pharaohs, you go back to the Hittites, go back to the Chaldeans, go back to the Akkadians, go back to the Sumerians. They all had diviners. Yeah. Now, in this class are also astrologers, oracles. We're going to talk more about oracles. Something, we got one today. I don't like it because I don't know who's controlling it. We call it Google. We can call it a search engine. It's nothing more, folks, than an oracle. And like many oracles, you don't know if you're getting what you asked for or if something is being told to you for you to believe. They also include clairvoyants and soothsayers. Now, clairvoyance, I think in many cases, even astrologers, all of these have been given a bum rap. There are people who exploit it, who don't know what the heck they're doing, regrettably, but we also got politicians who don't know what they're doing. So, doesn't surprise me. But we really need to nurture the oracles, the clairvoyance. But you see, when you have the mind virus, it's called modern day religion, once that virus penetrates your consciousness, it's very difficult until you wake up out of that spell, out of that virus, to realize you're already participating in this. You just think that it's something that's holy. All right, spirit conjuring can be used to assist the diviner. We've all heard about spirit guides. I'm getting to know mine. You have them. It's taught in many cultures, a guardian angel, someone, a loved one who looks over you. Those are spirits. And we readily accept it when it's in a certain flavor or looks like something that we're used to and palatable for us to comprehend. Now, we're going to get into this. I'm convinced. I know of one particular political party in this country that relies very heavily on the craft. All right, spirit conjuring. There are conjurers. I would have to say I'd be one of those. I'm sure there are many who are hearing my voice. You are as well. So what are we talking about here? A conjurer is at the high end of magical ability. This ability is used to intercede with various spirits and ghosts, and there is a difference, that can reside in the spirit world. Now, you say, well, what's the difference between a spirit and a ghost? A ghost is clearly defined as someone who has not made the transition. And a ghost can stay here, that the time isn't passing for them. A spirit has already transcended and ascended. Additionally, the conjurer can enter the spirit world and can mitigate the hauntings of restive spirits of the dead and give them peace. A mature conjurer can reverse it as well. You can send in, and there have been stories of governments, kingdoms that would bring in the conjurer to go into the enemy territory and stir up the spirits, stir up the dead. There are those who are asleep. I think you got to realize it. I don't know if we have a choice. I don't know if it's something that we can do, but there are those who have passed over that are asleep. Literally, spiritually, figuratively. All right. A conjurer can obtain and gain knowledge unavailable to anyone in the material world. I contend Tesla. I contend probably some that we see today in business have done this. Now, we're going to learn as we continue to go down here, the spirits that you conjure, you evoke or invoke, depending how far you immerse yourself into their world, will determine what you can actually see. Listen, you think about it. The future, is it already defined? Is the future already laid out? I say no. I say as a river flows, it can have alterations to the course. But to say that the future has already been set, then we're just living a lie. But you can, in fact, go to places and come back with things. And I believe many things that have been invented have been done just by this. You could say, well, wouldn't that affect timelines? If timelines are not set, merely the past, not even the present. A conjurer can employ spirits of all ranks to do their bidding and answer to no known authority. The very elite of conjurers, they don't answer to anyone. There's something there. Conjurers act as intermediaries between the living and the dead. In ancient times, it was said they had godlike powers. Now, all of us who come out of Christianity remember the witch of Endor, where King Saul, Samuel had died, and Saul no longer could rely on a seer, an oracle, which Samuel was, or the prophet. That's all a prophet is a seer. And if they are, in fact, true in their craft, they can see. Our stories that we hear in the lore is that King Saul wanted to know about this battle that he was going to be fighting with the Philistines. Samuel was gone. There was no new, Jehovah had not appointed a new prophet for the people. So Saul sent his chief guard to go out, and they knew about her already. And so Saul tried to disguise himself. The witch saw immediately through it, knew that who he was. But she became very fearful because she also knew that he represented Yahweh. And Yahweh has expressly forbidden any of his followers, his people, to only through his magic and the ones that his priests invoked. Well, the story goes, King Saul went there, and she, in fact, did bring forth the spirit of Samuel, as the story goes. And Samuel was still in his death wrappings, and simply told Saul, well, got sad news for you, bucko. You're going to be with me here at the end of the day. So, yeah. All right. So, when you pass over there, like we heard of Moses, contagion. You know, you've now exposed yourself into that inner realm, and they say that a lot of people can't handle it. I can imagine, because it's in a whole different physical, temporal, spectral reality. All right. Lastly, it is said that a true conjurers are descendants of the celestials. Now, in certain beliefs, in certain magic, certain knowledge, there is still the belief that the celestials still are here, still produce what we would call geniuses, these savants. Yeah. Now, thugery. I love that word, thugery. What is thugery? All right. It is the operation or effect of a supernatural or divine agency in human affairs, a system of white magic practiced by the earlier Neoplantists. Literally, what it means is God work. It represents the high art belonging to the philosopher in the task to gain all knowledge of the things spiritual and material. This is actually a magical technique performed by individuals who were reputed to have God-like powers. It is a system of practice and study that allows mortal humans to aspire to ascend and become like the gods. It is also a lost discipline. It is taught that one can make the gods to do their biddings, but only the foolish coerce God. Coerce. Now, I'm going to break it off here. We pick up on Friday. We're going to get into spirits, their categories, their rankings, who, what, names. We're going to be giving one that many may be familiar with. You already have one here. I'm just going to tell you. It's already here. You got it. A familiar spirit. Now, in folklore, it says demons or fairies or both have been called by this name. In religious texts, there are many stories of humans being possessed of a familiar spirit. And again, as I have shown already, most religious ceremonies have possession right with them. I mean, I know it's weird, but it is. It's true. So thank you, Hadley. I hope I've begun to at least crack the door. It's not to be feared. Now, you have to be mature. I mean, it's like anything in this life. You wouldn't hand the keys to a 16-year-old with a Maserati. You might as well do a toe tag on them. That's foolish. But you would handle the keys to a 16-year-old savant that was going to be the best race car driver ever known to man. You see how that works? Now, the question is, many of us are kind of in the middle. You can work up to this, and we will. I hope to have Karen on here when we get our crystals going. This is going to help us. It's going to help define, refine the true magic, the energy that each of us possess. And it will change your world for you, folks. It literally will. It's just how you go about it. All right. I told you this was going to be fun. It's the most exciting thing. I have to sometimes read the pages 2 or 3 times because I'm reading this. And it's like, who'd have thought? And when we're going to understand how to make sigils and how to begin to open the vortexes and how to seal them, that is something that is remarkable. And, you know, it's just the way it is. So, all right, folks, we will tonight be over on Jeff Doherty's The Christian Whistleblower, and his The Last Stand. So with his new host, Robert Brown, looking forward to that. We're going to be talking about magic, and I think the hour will go by immensely fast. There's a lot to do it. And you know what? I'm just going to say to this. I've seen a lot of channels and other people who they make this stuff ridiculous. They frame it in connotations that it's no different than a religion. They try to begin to set up boundaries of which they have no knowledge of what they're speaking of. And what I'm trying to tell you, maybe we ought to title this The Common Man's Magic. But, I give you all the resources. And folks, I haven't even showed you. Let me just give you a little peek of what I didn't even get to it. We've got some great books. We're going to be going through Franz Barden's book, The Practice of Magical Evolution. We're going to go through the Black Arts. We're going to study this from a concise history of demonology, astrology, alchemy, and other mystical practices. We're going to be looking at as well as the cultural area. I love the Appalachian area. I lived out in Knoxville for many years. And the Appalachian culture is deeply rooted into conjuring and magic. We're going to be studying about hidden secrets, how to attract anything you want. We're going to be learning as well as how to be communing with the spirits. Many of us have already been doing this. There is yet another book on there, Summoning the Spirits. So give me 1 second as I close those files out. Thank you. There is a lot to this, and the spigot is open. You can take as much as you want, and don't worry about it. It's not going to run out. So, for what it's worth, this is an exciting time to be alive, folks. It is so exciting. And even in the toughest of times, I'm telling you, there is yet power, there is yet control that you do possess. And I hope that if we can learn this collectively and individually, we'll lift this whole community up together at the same time. And who knows, we may just take right off and ascend it all. All right, folks, be good to yourself. I'll see you tomorrow as well. And I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I know you have other places you can go, but it's an honor. And you make my day. So thank you all. Hope I do the same. All right. Bye-bye.